Hello, thanks very much for joining me again. This week's stillwater pattern is a variation on the hare's ear. In the vise you see a Hares Competition 200 barbless hook and it's at size 12. And the thread I'm going to use today is the Vivus. It's the E01 8O in black. And the fly I'm going to be tying for you is a pattern that I got off of Wayne Jones about 20 years ago when he was still a young trooper in the army. He's obviously progressed on now and now fishes for the Welsh Hawks and runs the fly shop. So he's come a long way. I don't know if he still uses this pattern, but it's certainly one that I like to keep handy. First thing I'm going to do is just catch on, back for the eye, and put a layer of thread down. I'm going to bring my thread up just past the point, take away my excess and put a couple of turns in. Now when I say hare's ear, I say that in the very loosest of terms because it doesn't resemble a hare's ear much. I think the original pattern called for teal in the tail. I haven't got any teal, so I'm just going to use some of this from an old dabbler feather, very similar. And I'm going to take a healthy chunk of that, ripping it off at 45 degrees, which should bring the tips kind of into line for me. I'm going to catch that in. Now this is going to protrude a bit longer than I like my tails. So there's just a couple of loose fibres there to here. So I'm going to catch that in with a couple of turns. Just have a look. Yep, that'll do the job. I'm going to remove a large clump of this at the front and then I can just lash the rest of that down and come back to the bottom of fly. Now I'm going to put a wire rib on it, and the rib I'm going to be using is the Danville's fine wire. It's a size 20 and it's a gold wire. So I'm going to catch that in. I'm going to put it so that it goes all the way up to where my tying thread started at the beginning of the fly, and just a couple of wraps to get that down. It just helps with keeping the body even, although when you're using dubbing it's quite easy to keep it nice and straight. I've just pushed the wire out the way. The dubbing I'm going to use is some of this hair dub from Hares. It's quite a rough, coarse dubbing. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it's quite a coarse, spiky dubbing, and that's what I want for this fly. Now, when I went from barbed flies to completely barbless, the original patterns that Wayne gave me got given away, unfortunately. So I'm just tying this from memory, and I'm sure he'll not be long coming on and telling me I've not got it quite right, but it was a very light bodied fly, but very, very scruffy. So I've just dubbed that on as hard as I can. Actually, I would say it needs to be dubbed loosely, but to get this to sit on the thread you need to dub in quite hard. I might have put in a bit too much dubbing, but I can always take the excess off. I'm just twisting it up as it comes loose, twisting it up, and then I'm just going to make sure that I'm pulling all the loose fibres back. I'll get one more turn in there before I reach the end of my dubbing. Now, before I do anything else, I'm just going to make sure I've got plenty wax on the thread. There we go. So next, you can see it's got a lovely spiky rough effect to it. Now I'm going to bring my wire in the opposite direction to the way I put my thread down with the dubbing, and I'm going to keep my turns as even as I can, keeping them roughly 3 or 4 millimeters apart all the way to the front. And then I can put a couple of turns in there. Then once I've got 2 turns in, I'm going to grab all the bits and bobs, pull everything back and catch that in like so. Then I can twist that away. So these long guard hairs are just perfect for this now. So the next thing then is to get a jungle cock eye. Select one from your cape if you've got a cape, or if you're using substitute, that works just as well. And I've already picked a feather out here, as you can see. Now all these fibres here, these guard hairs, I want to keep them, and I don't want to use the whole feather, I want to split it. So I'm going to come in with my snips, and I'll try and do this on the camera. Get right in the middle and put a little split in there. Now usually I would dress this up to the fly, but I just want to make sure that it's going to split down the middle for me. There we go. So now I've got that done with my fingers, maybe off camera, I'll just bring it into focus so you can see. So I've split that pretty much down the middle. And what I want to do is just remove some of the bottom pieces. So all I'm remaining is the stalk and a few of the guard feathers. Now I'm going to come in and I'm pushing it over the top now, and it's difficult to see with my fingers in the way, but if I just put a couple of wraps in to hold that in place, like so. What I've done is I've bent the feather down, so the split, and I've brought it to either side of the fly. Now what I can do next is, again, bring everything back, just catch that little bit of stalk in. It's quite difficult to see the stalk, but I can just about make it out, and I'm going to remove that. So there we go, I've got it in place. I'm just forcing the jungle cock into the side where I want it to sit, and I'm going to now build up my head at the front. And I can finish off with a couple of half hitches. In my case, all you experts out there, I'm sure, are using your whip finish tools and gloating. Then I'm going to come in, take the excess away. Now to finish off, you can use varnish or UV resin. I'm going to use a touch of UV resin, and I'll just get a bit on my brush. I'm going to open my vise up so I can get down below it, all the way around, so you get a nice neat head to the fly. Then I can lock that off again. Come in with my pen torch. Now, as I said, Wayne gave me this and I sort of put it in my box. He gave me 4 or 5 of them actually, and I thought no more of it until one year. I think I was fishing with Al Owen, and we were up the top of the South Arm at Rutland, and I was fishing all 3 of these. I thought, oh, I'll just try these. They're Wayne's flies, and very quickly got a few fish with it. And since then it's always been in my boxes, but because I got rid of the barb flies, I just forgot all about the pattern, and I was messaging Wayne the other day for something else, and it just made me think of this, and I thought, you know what, that's one for the channel to share with the troops. So there you go. It's I don't know where Wayne got it, but it's a very rough looking hare's ear, jungle cock eyes, and it's well worth having in your armoury. Thanks very much for watching. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. So that's your first method. If you want to make them up, that's how to do it.